Another birthday spent staring at my phone, willing it to ring. Another year of disappointment. I'm Emery, and today I turn 32, though you wouldn't know it from my father's complete radio silence. The only notification from him is an email about his trust fund distribution and, get this, a request for a loan for his Paris getaway with his new girlfriend. Happy birthday to me, I mutter, setting down my phone on my office desk harder than necessary. The skyline of downtown Seattle stretches out beyond my window, all gleaming steel and promise, mocking my internal storm. My assistant Rachel pokes her head in. The team got you a cake. Should I bring it in now? Give me 5 minutes. I force a smile, but she knows me too well. Still nothing from your dad. Worse. I turn my laptop screen toward her. He wants money for Paris. Doesn't even mention my birthday. Rachel's face contorts in disgust. That's... wow, just wow. My phone buzzes. It's Reagan, my best friend. Hey, birthday girl, drinks tonight. God, yes, I need them. Let me guess, Robert struck again? I laugh, but it comes out hollow. How'd you know? Because it's your birthday and he's predictably terrible. What did he do this time? Asked for money, for Paris, with Vanessa. That's self-centered. Reagan trails off. Okay, we're definitely drinking tonight. The usual spot at 8. After hanging up, I pull up my email. The trust fund notification sits there, a monthly reminder of my father's wealth. Wealth he's always used as a control mechanism. Below it, his loan request. Princess, need a quick 15K for a romantic getaway with Vanessa. We'll pay you back next month. You're doing so well with your business. I knew I could count on you. Princess. He only calls me that when he wants something. My finger hovers over the reply button when my brother Kian calls. Happy birthday, sis. At least someone remembered, I say, trying to keep the bitterness out of my voice. Dad didn't call. Nope, but he did ask for vacation money. Silence on the line. Then, sometimes I wonder if we're actually related to him. Speaking of money, I say, an idea forming. Remember Nathan, my lawyer? The scary, competent one? Yeah, why? No reason. I pause. Yet. After work, I head to Nathan's office. He's still there because of course he is. Nathan practically lives at his desk. Emery, he says, looking up from a stack of papers. Happy birthday. Thanks. Quick question. How hard would it be to freeze someone's trust fund distributions? He raises an eyebrow. Depends. Whose trust fund are we talking about? My father's. Nathan leans back in his chair, studying me. Legally speaking, as the primary beneficiary, you have certain rights, but I'm more interested in why you're asking. I pull out my phone, showing him the email. 32 years of this. Birthdays, graduations, my company launch. He's missed them all, but he never misses asking for money or reminding me about his trust fund. And you want to show him what it feels like to be disappointed? Yes. I meet Nathan's gaze. Can we do it? He pulls out a legal pad. We can. But Emery, revenge is a complicated game. Are you sure you want to play it? I've spent my whole life being the good daughter, Nathan. Where has that gotten me? He nods slowly. Give me 24 hours to draft the paperwork. But remember, once we start this, there's no easy way back. I stand up, suddenly feeling lighter than I have all day. Good, because I'm done being the family ATM. And while he's figuring out how to fund his Paris romance, I'll be planning my own trip. Oh, Bali, with Reagan. It's time I started celebrating myself instead of waiting for him to notice me. Walking out of Nathan's office, I pull up my messages and text Reagan. Change of plans for tonight. We need to talk about Bali. Her response is immediate. OMG, yes. But what about your dad? I smile, feeling a mix of guilt and satisfaction as I type. Let's just say karma's finally catching up with him. The Seattle rain starts as I head to my car, but for once, it feels less like gloom and more like washing away the past. Tomorrow, the papers will be drawn up. Tomorrow, everything changes. and for the first time in years, I'm actually looking forward to what comes next. My phone buzzes again, another email from my father. Princess, about that loan. I delete it without reading further. Happy birthday to me, indeed. You did what? Reagan nearly spits out her wine across the table at our favorite downtown bistro. Technically, I haven't done anything yet, I say, swirling my own glass. Nathan's just preparing the paperwork. Holy shit, Em. That's nuclear. She leans forward, lowering her voice despite the bustling dinner crowd. What about Kian? Have you told him? Not yet. I take a long sip. And I'm not going to, not until it's done. Reagan's phone lights up with flight options for Bali. Okay, changing subjects slightly. Look at this villa I found. Private pool, ocean view, and get this, it costs less than what your dad asked to borrow for Paris. I can't help but laugh at the irony. Book it, right now. You're serious? Dead serious. 3 weeks in paradise. It's exactly what I need. As Reagan taps away at her phone, making reservations, my own buzzes with a text from my mother, Juliana. Lunch tomorrow? We need to talk. Mom wants to meet, I tell Reagan. That's never good. Maybe she heard about your master plan. Impossible, unless... I pause, thinking, unless Kian said something to her. The next day, I meet my mother at her favorite cafe. She's already there, perfect posture, elegant as always, stirring her tea with precise movements. Happy belated birthday, sweetheart, she says as I sit down. Thanks, Mum. She studies me over her cup. I ran into Vanessa yesterday. My stomach drops. Oh. She mentioned something about Robert asking you for money, for Paris. She sets down her cup with a soft clink. History really does repeat itself. What do you mean? Your father. She pauses, choosing her words carefully. He's always had a pattern of putting himself first, even before the divorce. Mum, if this is going to be another, your father is selfish lecture. No, Emery. This is about making sure you don't spend your life waiting for him to change. She reaches across the table, taking my hand. I waited 20 years. Don't make my mistake. Before I can respond, my phone rings. It's Nathan. The paperwork's ready, he says when I answer. But there's something you should know. I did some digging into the trust fund's history. Can it wait? I'm with my mum. Actually, you might want her to hear this too. I put the phone on speaker and set it on the table. Mrs. Roberts, Nathan says, do you remember signing any documents about Robert's trust fund around 2002? My mother's face goes pale. How did you find those? Find what? I look between the phone and my mother. What documents? Your father was going to lose everything, she says quietly. He'd made some bad investments. I signed over my inheritance to save the trust fund. He promised he'd make it right. The cafe suddenly feels too small, too hot. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were 12, and you already idolized him. I didn't want to change that. My phone buzzes again, a text from Kian. Dad's freaking out. Says his bank called about the trust fund. What did you do? I have to go, I tell my mother, standing abruptly. But this conversation isn't over. Outside, I call Reagan. I need a drink, I say as soon as she answers. It's 2 p.m. Trust me, it's time. Meet me at Murphy's? 20 minutes later, I'm telling Reagan everything over an emergency martini. So your mom basically saved your dad from bankruptcy, and he still treats you both like this? Reagan shakes her head. That's it. We're upgrading the Bali villa, ocean view master suite, private chef, the works. Reagan, no, listen. You've spent your whole life trying to earn his attention. Meanwhile, he's living it up in Paris with girlfriend number... What are we at now, 5? 6, I correct her. And Vanessa's different. She actually asked about his finances before they booked the trip. Red flag much? My phone lights up with another call from Nathan. The papers are filed, he says. The freeze takes effect in 48 hours. Are you sure about this? I think about my mother's revelation, about years of missed birthdays and broken promises, about Paris and trust funds, and being called princess only when he needs something. Yes, I say firmly. I'm sure. After hanging up, I turn to Reagan. Book the villa, the best one they have. And Reagan, make sure it has a good view of the sunrise. Why sunrise specifically? I smile, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. Because for the first time in my life, I'm not waiting for someone else's approval to start my day. My phone buzzes one more time. An email from Vanessa. About Robert's financial situation. Can we meet? I forward it to Nathan with 3 words. Let the games begin. Nathan's office feels colder than usual as he lays out the consequences of what we've set in motion. The freeze takes effect tomorrow morning. Once it hits, Robert won't be able to access any of the trust fund distributions for at least 3 months. Just in time for his Paris trip, I say, trying to ignore the knot in my stomach. Emery, this isn't just about a vacation anymore. Nathan slides a document across his desk. Look at these transactions from the past 6 months. The numbers make my eyes widen. These withdrawals, they're huge. Your father's been living well beyond his means. This freeze might do more damage than you intended. Before I can respond, my phone erupts with Kian's ringtone. What the hell, Emery? He says before I can even say hello. Dad just called me in a panic, says his accounts are locked. Maybe he should have thought about that before treating us like his personal ATMs. This isn't funny. He's supposed to close on a new house next week. I sit up straighter. What new house? For him and Vanessa. They're moving in together. Kian's voice drips with accusation. But you'd know that if you ever answered his calls. Right, because he's so great at keeping in touch when he doesn't need money. He's still our father, is he? I stand up, pacing Nathan's office. Because from where I'm standing, he's just a guy who remembers he has kids when his credit cards max out. You're being childish. No, Kian, I'm being realistic. For once in my life, I'm not letting him manipulate me. The line goes quiet for a moment. You know what? Do whatever you want. But don't expect me to pick sides. You already have, I snap, ending the call. Nathan clears his throat. There's more. Vanessa's been making inquiries about the trust fund structure. What kind of inquiries? The kind that suggests she's more interested in Robert's finances than his charm. My phone buzzes with a text from Reagan. Bali Villa booked. First-class flights too. No turning back now. I show Nathan the text. Good, because I need something to look forward to while this storm hits. Speaking of storms, Nathan says, you should prepare for backlash. Your father has influential friends. Let them come. I'm done being the family doormat. Leaving Nathan's office, I head to my mother's house. She opens the door before I can knock, like she's been waiting. I heard from Kian, she says, ushering me inside. You're really doing this. Did you know about the house? The one he's buying with Vanessa? She nods slowly. I did, and I know something else you should hear. We sit in her sunroom, the afternoon light casting long shadows across the floor. Your father did the same thing to me, she says. Right before our divorce. Bought a house with his girlfriend at the time, using money from my inheritance, the same money I gave up to save his trust fund. Why are you telling me this now? Because you need to understand what you're up against. Robert doesn't just hurt people, Emery. He destroys them and makes them feel like they deserved it. My phone lights up with a message from Vanessa. We need to talk. It's urgent. She keeps trying to meet with me, I tell my mother. Be careful. Women like Vanessa don't reach out unless they want something. Later that evening, as I'm packing for Bali, Reagan comes over with takeout and wine. Your brother called me, she says, pouring generous glasses. He's worried you're having some kind of breakdown. Of course he is. I fold another sundress into my suitcase. He's always been Dad's defender. Maybe he's just scared of losing what little family connection he has left. Or maybe he's scared Dad will cut him off next. I pause, holding up 2 bikinis. Which one says, I'm living my best life while my father's financial empire crumbles? The black one, definitely. Reagan takes a sip of wine. But seriously, are you ready for tomorrow? Once that freeze hits, I know. I sit on the edge of my bed. But you know what's funny? For the first time in years, I feel like I'm actually in control of my life. My phone buzzes again. An email from Robert. Princess, we need to talk. Now. This isn't like you. I delete it without responding. You know what? I tell Reagan, reaching for my phone. I'm going to do something else I should have done years ago. I pull up my contact list, find Dad, and hit block. There, I say, feeling lighter. Now he can experience what it's like to be ignored. Reagan raises her glass. To karma. To karma, I echo, but as we clink glasses, I can't shake the feeling that tomorrow's sunrise will bring more than just a frozen trust fund. It'll bring a war, and for better or worse, I'm ready for it. The lobby of my father's office building feels like enemy territory as I stride through it, my heels clicking against the marble floor. I didn't want this confrontation, but his string of increasingly desperate voicemails left me no choice. Miss Howard, his secretary stammers as I approach. Your father is in a meeting. I push past her, throwing open his office door. Robert sits behind his massive desk, Vanessa perched on its edge. They both freeze mid-conversation. Princess, he stands, forcing a smile. I've been trying to reach you. Really? Must be terrible when someone ignores your calls. Vanessa slides off the desk, smoothing her designer dress. I'll give you two some privacy. No, I say. Stay. Since you're so interested in the trust fund, you should hear this too. My father's fake smile falters. Emery, whatever you think you're doing, what I'm doing. I laugh, the sound sharp and cold. I'm giving you exactly what you've given me for years. Disappointment. You're being dramatic. Dramatic? I pull out my phone, opening my calendar. Let's see. Missed my college graduation for a golf tournament. Skipped my company launch party for a date. Forgot my birthday. Again, but remembered to ask for vacation money. Vanessa shifts uncomfortably. Robert, maybe we should... No, please stay, I cut in. You should know what you're getting into. Did he tell you about my mother's inheritance? How he burned through it after she saved him from bankruptcy? My father's face reddens. That's enough. Is it? Because I'm just getting started. The house you're planning to buy. The one you didn't bother telling me about. Good luck with that now. You can't do this, he says, voice dropping dangerously. I'm your father. Are you? Because fathers usually show up for their kids. They usually remember birthdays. They definitely don't treat their children like personal banks. A knock at the door interrupts us. It's Nathan. Perfect timing, I say. Nathan, would you explain to my father exactly what's happening to his trust fund? Nathan steps forward, all business. The distributions have been frozen for a minimum of 3 months, pending review. Additionally, we filed for an audit of all transactions from the past 5 years. You can't do this, Vanessa interjects. Robert needs that money for... For what? I turn to her. The house? Paris? Or are there other expenses we should know about? She flushes, grabbing her purse. I don't have to listen to this. As she storms out, I notice something fall from her purse. A folded document. I pick it up, my blood running cold as I scan it. A prenuptial agreement. I wave the paper at my father. Already? He won't meet my eyes. Emery, you don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. You were going to marry her without telling us. Probably somewhere in Paris, right? Another milestone you didn't think we needed to know about. I was going to tell you, when, after the wedding, after you put her name on the trust fund. Nathan clears his throat. Actually, that's not possible without Emery's signature. As primary beneficiary. Get out. My father's voice is quiet, but deadly. Both of you. Gladly. I turn to leave, but pause at the door. Oh, and Dad, happy early Father's Day. Consider this your gift. A taste of what disappointment feels like. In the elevator, Nathan hands me a file. Found these while reviewing the trust documents. They're from your mother's old storage unit. I open it to find photographs, dozens of them. My parents young and happy, then gradually growing apart. But it's the last photo that catches my eye. My mother signing papers, tears on her face, while my father stands with another woman in the background. "When was this taken?" I ask. "Check the date stamp. 2002. The year she signed over her inheritance. The year everything changed. My phone buzzes. A text from Reagan. Emergency, come to Murphy's now. 20 minutes later, I slide into our usual booth. "What's wrong?" Reagan pushes her phone across the table. On it is a social media post from Vanessa, dated 6 months ago. "Finally found my way back to him. Second chances are rare. Says true love." "Look at the comments," Reagan says. I scroll down, my stomach churning. There, in black and white, is proof that Vanessa and my father didn't just meet recently. They dated before, 20 years ago, right around the time my mother signed away her inheritance. "There's more," Reagan says softly. "Keep reading." But I don't need to. The pieces are falling into place. The woman in the background of that last photograph, the timing of my parents' divorce, my mother's tears as she signed away her future. It had been Vanessa. It had always been Vanessa. My phone lights up with a text from my mother. "We need to talk. There's something you should know about Vanessa." I close my eyes, suddenly understanding that this isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about justice. 20 years overdue. "She was his secretary back then," my mother says, setting down her teacup in her sunroom. "Young, ambitious, and very good at playing the long game. And now she's back." I stare at the old photograph. 20 years later, like nothing happened. Not nothing. My mother's hand shakes slightly. She knew about the inheritance. She was the one who suggested I sign it over to save the family. Reagan, sitting beside me, lets out a low whistle. So she orchestrated the whole thing. "I was naive," my mother continues. "I thought I was protecting my children's future. Instead, I was funding their father's affair." My phone buzzes. Nathan again. "Emery, we have a problem. Your father's trying to challenge the freeze." "On what grounds?" "Mental distress. He's claiming you're having an emotional breakdown and aren't fit to make financial decisions." I laugh bitterly. "Of course he is." "There's more," Nathan says. "Vanessa's been making calls to other trust fund beneficiaries. She's trying to build a case against you." After hanging up, I turn to Reagan. "Still have those Bali itineraries? Already packed and ready." She pulls out her tablet. "Villas confirmed, flights are booked, and I even arranged for a private yoga instructor." "Good, because we leave in 3 days and—" My phone interrupts again, Kian this time. "Did you know?" he demands. "About Vanessa? About what happened with Mom?" "I just found out." "Dad's a mess. He's drinking, saying you're trying to ruin his life. Vanessa's threatening to leave him." "Good," I snap. "Maybe he'll finally understand what it feels like to be abandoned." "This isn't you, Em. You're not vindictive. No, I'm just tired. Tired of being used. Tired of being forgotten. Tired of watching history repeat itself." After hanging up, my mother reaches for an old shoebox. "There's something else you should see." Inside are letters, dozens of them, all from my father to Vanessa, dated throughout my parents' marriage. "I found these after the divorce," my mother says. "They were in his study. He'd kept every single one." Reagan reads over my shoulder. "These go back years before the divorce. They were planning this the whole time." "The trust fund was never just about money," my mother says quietly. "It was about control. As long as he controlled the money, he controlled everyone around him." My phone pings with an email from Nathan. "Emergency. Your father's filed an injunction. Court hearing scheduled for next week." "Perfect timing," I mutter, "right before Bali." "Go," my mother says firmly. "Go to Bali. Let Nathan handle the legal battle. You need to be far away when this all comes to a head." "But, trust me, sweetheart, I've lived through this before. The next few weeks will get ugly." As if on cue, my phone lights up with a text from Vanessa. "You have no idea what you've started. Your father built this family. You're just a spoiled little girl trying to play games. I show the text to Reagan, who snorts. Rich, coming from the woman who's been playing the longest game of all. Should I respond? No, my mother says. That's what she wants. A reaction, proof that you're unstable. Another text arrives, this time from an unknown number. You should check your father's recent property purchases, not just the house. A friend. Reagan grabs my phone. Okay, that's cryptic. I forward the text to Nathan, who responds immediately. On it. But Emery, be careful. This could be a trap. Standing up, I gather the letters and photographs. Mum, can I take these? She nods. They're part of your history too. Just promise me something. What? Don't let this consume you like it consumed me. I spent years trying to expose your father's betrayal. In the end, it only hurt me more. Reagan checks her watch. We should go. We have that meeting with the travel agent about Bali activities. As we leave, my mother calls after me. Emery, remember, sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about becoming someone they can't control anymore. In the car, Reagan turns to me. You okay? No, I admit. But I will be. 3 days until Bali, right? 3 days. Unless... She hesitates. Unless you want to stay and fight this injunction. I think about the letters, the photographs, 20 years of manipulation and lies. No. Let him fight the freeze. Let him panic about money for once. I'm done letting him control my life. My phone buzzes one final time. Another text from the unknown number. Check the property records for 2002, the same year as the inheritance. Trust me. I forward it to Nathan with 2 words. Dig deeper. 3 days to Bali. 3 days until I can breathe again. But as I drive home, I can't shake the feeling that we've only scratched the surface of my father's secrets. Your father bought a house in 2002, Nathan says, spreading documents across my kitchen counter. The same week your mother signed over her inheritance. Let me guess, it wasn't in his name. I lean over the papers, coffee forgotten in my hand. No, it was put in a shell company's name. And guess who's been living there rent-free for the past 20 years? Vanessa, Reagan answers from her perch on my bar stool. Nathan nods. Bingo, he's been maintaining 2 households all this time. My phone erupts with my father's ringtone. He's calling from a new number. Don't answer it, Reagan warns, but I've already hit accept. How dare you, he roars before I can speak. Do you have any idea what you've done? The bank is freezing everything. Funny how that works, isn't it? Being cut off without warning. This isn't a game, Emery. Vanessa's threatening to go public with everything. I put the phone on speaker, setting it next to Nathan's documents. Public with what, Dad? The house you bought her in 2002? Or the fact that you've been supporting her all these years? Silence crackles across the line. How did you... I learned from the best, Dad. You taught me to always follow the money, remember? You don't understand. No, you don't understand. My voice rises. While Mom and I scraped by after the divorce, you were maintaining a secret life with Vanessa. The same woman you're now parading around like some new romance. Your mother made her choices. Her choice was protecting her children, which is more than you ever did. The doorbell rings. Through the security camera feed on my phone, I see Vanessa standing there, looking perfectly polished despite the early hour. Well, speak of the devil, I mutter. Don't you dare talk to her, my father shouts. I end the call and open the door. Vanessa breezes past me like she owns the place. We need to talk. About what? The house he bought you 20 years ago? Or the fact that you're trying to marry him again for his money? She falters for just a second before regaining her composure. You have no idea what you're dealing with. Actually, Nathan speaks up, I think we do. Section 8 of the trust stipulates that any undisclosed property purchases using trust funds must be reported. That house in Madison Park definitely wasn't reported. Vanessa's perfectly maintained facade cracks. He promised me... Let me guess, Reagan interrupts. He promised you'd be taken care of. that once you were married, the trust fund would be yours to manage. You don't understand, Vanessa says, her voice breaking slightly. 20 years ago, he promised me the same thing. Then his wife signed over her inheritance, and suddenly he didn't need me anymore. So this is revenge, I ask. You came back to what? Finish the job? I came back because he begged me to. Said things would be different this time. She laughs bitterly. I should have known better. My phone buzzes with a text from Kian. Dad's at my place. He's drunk, talking about filing bankruptcy. Bankruptcy won't save him, Nathan says, reading over my shoulder. Not with these trust violations. Vanessa reaches into her bag, pulling out a USB drive. Maybe this will help. 20 years of records. Every promise, every lie, every penny he spent trying to keep his double life hidden. Why are you giving me this? Because he's doing it again. There's another woman, younger this time. She heads for the door, then pauses. Oh, and Emery, that trip to Paris, it wasn't for me. It was for her. After she leaves, Reagan whistles low. Well, that was karma, I finish. Pure karma. Nathan starts gathering the documents. I'll need to review everything she gave us. But Emery, this could get messy. Really messy. My phone lights up again. My mother this time. Turn on the news. Now. Reagan grabs the remote, flipping to the local station. There, in bold headlines, prominent businessman Robert Howard accused of financial misconduct. Sources suggest decades of deception. Holy shit, Reagan breathes. Vanessa works fast, Nathan observes. My phone explodes with notifications. Journalists, family friends, even old classmates, all wanting comments. Still want to go to Bali tomorrow? Reagan asks quietly. I look at the chaos unfolding on TV, at the documents scattered across my counter, at the USB drive that probably contains enough secrets to destroy what's left of my father's reputation. More than ever, I say. Let him deal with his own mess for once. But as I head to my bedroom to finish packing, my phone buzzes one last time. A text from my father. Princess, please, I can explain everything. I block this number too, but not before sending one final reply. Explain it to your new girlfriend in Paris. I'll be in Bali, living my best life, without your money, without your lies, and most importantly, without you. Bali's morning sun streams through the villa's windows as I sip my coffee on the balcony. 7 days into our escape, and the notifications haven't stopped, but at least here, with the Indian Ocean stretching before me, they feel less urgent. Your brother's calling again, Reagan says, padding out in her yoga clothes. That's the 3rd time this morning. I check my phone. 12 missed calls from Kian, 5 from Nathan, and countless news alerts about my father. Fine, I sigh, hitting accept. What's wrong now? Dad's in the hospital, Kian says without preamble. Stress-induced cardiac event. The coffee cup freezes halfway to my lips. Is he? He's stable. But it's bad. The media's camped outside his house. Vanessa's given 3 interviews already. And that other woman, the Paris girlfriend, she's talking to anyone who'll listen. Not my problem. Emery, please, he's asking for you. He's been asking for things his whole life, Kian. Look where that got us. Reagan gestures for my phone. Let me talk to him. I hand it over, walking to the edge of the balcony. Behind me, I hear Reagan's voice. Kian, listen, your sister needs this time. My own phone dings with an email from Nathan. USB drive contents reviewed. Found something you need to see. Can we video chat? 10 minutes later, Nathan's face fills my laptop screen, looking more serious than usual. Remember that property search we did? He asks. There's more. A lot more. Your father didn't just buy 1 house for Vanessa. He bought 3. All using trust fund money. All hidden through shell companies. 3 houses. And that's not all. I found transfers to offshore accounts, regular payments to multiple women, even a secret family in... Stop, I cut him off. I don't want to know anymore. Emery, as your lawyer, I have to tell you, This goes beyond personal drama. We're looking at serious financial fraud. Reagan sits beside me, squeezing my hand. What does this mean for Emery? It means, Nathan says, that the trust fund freeze was just the beginning. The SEC is involved now. There will be investigations, possibly criminal charges. My phone buzzes again, my mother this time. Have you seen the news? She asks when I answer. Which part? Your father's girlfriend, the Paris one, she's pregnant. The world tilts sideways. Reagan grabs my phone as it slips from my hand. Mrs. Roberts, she says, let me call you back. Our villa's door chimes. It's our yoga instructor, right on schedule. Cancel it, I tell Reagan. I need a drink. It's 9 a.m. It's 9 p.m. somewhere. But instead of pouring me a drink, Reagan grabs my shoulders. No, we're not doing this. Get your yoga mat, now. An hour later, stretched out in Savasana, my phone lights up again. This time, it's a letter, forwarded from Nathan, from my father. Princess, by the time you read this, you'll know everything. The houses, the women, the lies, all of it. I could say I'm sorry, but sorry doesn't begin to cover 20 years of deception. The truth is, I've been running my whole life. Running from responsibility, from consequences, from the kind of father you deserved. The money was never really mine. It was your mother's inheritance, meant to secure your future. Instead, I used it to destroy our family. Twice. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But you deserve the truth, all of it. Check the bottom drawer of my office desk. There's a red ledger. Everything's in there. Every lie, every betrayal, every moment I chose myself over my children. The doctors say I need surgery. Before they take me in, I wanted you to know. You were right to freeze the trust fund. You were right about everything. I'm not asking you to come home. I'm not asking for anything anymore. I just want you to know that in destroying my carefully built house of lies, you've shown more strength than I ever had. Be better than me, Princess. You already are. Dad, Reagan reads over my shoulder. Are you okay? No, I admit. But I think I need to go home. What about Bali? Our trip? I look out at the ocean, at the paradise we've escaped to. Sometimes running away isn't the answer. Even if going back means facing everything you've been avoiding. Especially then. I pull up my flight app. Besides, I think I finally understand something my mom said. The best revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about becoming someone they can't control anymore. My phone lights up one last time. A text from Kian. Surgery in an hour. Whatever you decide, I love you, sis. I book the flight home, then turn to Reagan. Coming with me? She's already packing. Always. But Emery, this time we face it on your terms, not his. I nod, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of possibility. My terms, finally. The hospital corridor feels endless as I walk toward my father's room. Reagan's steady presence beside me. Through the window I see him, smaller somehow, vulnerable in a way I've never witnessed before. Kian steps out to meet us. Surgery went well. He's been asking for you. I got his letter, I say. I know. I helped him write it. Kian runs a hand through his disheveled hair. The red ledger, I found it. It's worse than we thought, Em. How much worse? Let's just say the SEC isn't the only agency interested now. Taking a deep breath, I push open the door. My father's eyes flutter open, focusing on me with surprising clarity despite the medications. Princess, he whispers. Don't. I hold up my hand. That name doesn't work anymore. He nods weakly. I know. I read about myself in the papers. Quite the villain, apparently. Did you read Vanessa's interviews? And Jessica's? At my confused look, he adds, the Paris girlfriend, though I suppose girlfriend isn't quite accurate anymore. Given that she's pregnant? No, it's not. Reagan squeezes my arm supportively as I sit in the chair beside his bed. I found the ledger, I say. Nathan's reviewing it now. Then you know everything. Not everything. I need to hear it from you. Why? Why destroy our family not once but twice? He closes his eyes, and for a moment I think he's drifted off. Then, because I could. Because money made it easy to pretend actions didn't have consequences. Because every time I felt guilty, I could just buy my way out of it. And Mom's inheritance? Was supposed to be for you and Kian. Your mother knew that. That's why she signed it over, to protect your futures. Instead, I used it to destroy them. The heart monitor beeps steadily in the background as silence fills the room. The trust fund, he continues, it's yours now. Completely. I signed the papers this morning, before surgery. No conditions, no strings. Do with it what your mother intended. I don't want your money. No, he says with a sad smile. You never did. That's what makes you different from them. From Vanessa, from Jessica, from all of them. You just wanted a father. Tears I didn't expect burn my eyes. And instead, I got an ATM with conditions. Emery, he reaches for my hand. I let him take it, surprised by how frail his grip feels. I'm going to jail. The investigators have enough evidence for multiple fraud charges. But before I do, I need you to know something. What? You winning, beating me at my own game. It's the first time I've ever been proud of myself as a father. Because you did what I never could. You chose integrity over easy money. Nathan appears in the doorway, holding a stack of papers. Emery, we need to talk about the trust fund transfers. Go, my father says. Clean up my mess. Make it right. In the hallway, Nathan lays out the situation. The good news is, we can save most of the trust fund. The bad news is, it'll mean cooperating with the investigation. You mean testifying against him? He nods. But given the evidence they already have, your testimony would just be confirming what they know. My mother arrives, still elegant even in her obvious exhaustion. I heard about the ledger. Mom, I'm so sorry about everything. She pulls me into a hug. Don't apologize for exposing the truth. Some things need to break completely before they can be rebuilt. Speaking of rebuilding, Reagan says, what about Bali? I look through the window at my father, at Kian sitting vigilant beside him, at the empire of lies crumbling around us. I think, I say slowly, it's time to build something new, something honest. Nathan holds up another document. Starting with this, it's the paperwork to establish a foundation in your mother's name, using the trust fund money the way it was meant to be used, helping people rebuild their lives. My mother's eyes fill with tears. Emery, it's time, Mum. Time to turn his legacy of lies into something true. Through the window, I see my father watching us. He nods once, understanding passing between us. Not forgiveness, not yet, maybe not ever, but understanding. Ready? Reagan asks, linking her arm through mine. Yeah, I say, turning away from the window. Ready to write a new story. One without trust funds or conditions or fake princesses. Just you, my mother says proudly. Just exactly who you were always meant to be. Walking out of the hospital, I delete the last block number from my phone. The sun breaks through Seattle's clouds, and for the first time in weeks, I feel light, free. Not because I won, not because he lost, but because finally, after all these years, I found something money can't buy and lies can't break, my own truth. And that's worth more than any trust fund, 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 more than any trust fund.